Welcome back. So in the first part, in the part 1 of the video of this question, we treated the first part of the question where we proved this and we arrived at m equal to 19. So the second part of the question is saying that using the definition, we should prove that the limit of f of x is equal to 7 when x tend vers 2. So when they tell you montrer en utilisant la définition, what definition? They're talking about the definition of like the limit of a function, that the limit of f of x is equal to 7, x tend vers 2. So let's do rappel of our cours. Okay, so let me just take this out. So we're going to do rappel of our cours. What were we taught? When defining the limits of a function, when it tend vers, like it's equal to a certain limit, and the x tend vers in certain x0, you have the limit when x tend vers x0 of f of x is equal to L. This is the notation. Like if you're given a certain limit, function f of x, and x when it tend vers voisinage x to 0. So what is the definition of this? The definition is that for every epsilon greater than 0, there exists in theta greater than 0, or alpha, or delta, what have you. So it exists in theta greater than, depending on what your prof denotes this as. Tel que, when I do this, it means such that x moins x0 less than this, that's less than this, implique that f of x minus L is less than epsilon. So let me show you this formula very well. You'll be needing it, like it's one of the basic formulas for definitions for limit of a function. So you can also note this. So what are we looking for? We're going to use this, okay? We use this to find this. We have x minus x0, and then we find theta. Let's solve it. It will be clear, hopefully, when we're done. So what was the question? He said we should find out that the limit of f of x is equal to 7 when x tend vers 2. And what is, let me write this. So what do we have? We have the limit when x tend vers 2 of f of x is equal to 7. So what does this look like? It means L is equal to 7, x0 is equal to 2. Okay? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to replace it in our formula. So we're going to have, okay, so what do we have here? From the definition, we have this is this, and this is what we're asked to find, okay? So I can use my x0 to be equal to 2 and my L to be 7. So this is our general definition, like I told you. And then replacing the definition here, I will have for every epsilon greater than 0, there exists theta greater than 0 such that x minus 2, which is x0, you see that, less than this, implique that f of x minus 7, which is our L, is less than epsilon. So after 1, what do I mean by that? 1, we already know that f of x minus 7 in absolute value is less than mx minus 2. So il suffit de juste avoir f of x, instead of having f of x minus 7 less than epsilon, I can just have mx minus 2 less than epsilon. It works because this is less than this. Okay? So, d'après 1, on a que f of x minus 7 is less than 19x minus 2 because we found our m to be 19. So I said that or I have here that to have f of x minus 7 less than epsilon, we can just have x minus 19. Should rewrite this. To have f of x minus 7 less than epsilon, we can just have x minus 2 less than epsilon, then 19. Yes, sorry. We can just have 19x minus 2 less than epsilon. This absolute value still remains. It's very important because we are trying to find this. I circled here. We are trying to find theta, so it has to be in this form. Don't forget that. So x, okay, minus 2, x0 is 2. Yes, it works. Less than epsilon. So if we divide both sides by 19, which I did here, I'll still do it. What we'll have, we'll be having this. We'll be having x minus 2 in absolute value, don't forget that, less than epsilon over 19. Now, because we're looking for this is similar to this. Or let me put it here. This is similar to this. And then we have this. So I can just take theta to be equal to epsilon over 19. Okay? And then if you remember, I'll come back to it. And we have something like that again, that x minus 2 is in absolute value is less than 1. Okay? So I can take this also to be my theta, this one, because it's also looking the same way. So what do I have at the end? So, donc, on peut prendre theta égale à la minimum. The minimum, this is minimum of epsilon sur 19 and 1. Why? We can take this with epsilon sur 19 or 1 because x minus 2 in absolute value can be equal to can be less than epsilon over 19, or it can be equal, or it can be x minus 2 less than 1. So yes, this is your solution. We found theta, and that's what you're asked to find. So if you're asked to prove using the definition that the limit of a function is equal to a certain limit when x long the certain voisinage x is 0, you go ahead like this. This is just what you have been asked to find. So see you in the next video.